If you golf, there's likely a huge component that you're missing when you're trying to improve your golf swing. And on this week's episode of the Exercises Health Podcast, that's exactly what we want to talk with you about. We're going to cue our introduction and we're going to dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health Podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg and Exercise for Life Studios, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset. And the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared to building the health and function of your muscles. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are talking to those of you who are looking to improve your golf swing. Look, you like being out on the course, you like playing golf, but you are looking to actively get better at golf. And so you may be taking lessons, you may be going to the range, you may be scheduling tee time after tee time after tee time, but there's one thing that you are likely missing with this whole improve my golf swing journey that you're on that we want to highlight for you today, because missing this thing is undoubtedly holding your improvement back.
That's right. And we know most of you are missing this thing because almost every golfer that we see isn't working on this thing. And so the things we know that you are regularly doing is you're probably out golfing regularly, right? So you're getting in some reps. You probably even do some exercises that look like golfing, right? Like your twist exercise, or maybe, I've seen weighted golf clubs, or you do like the bands at the gym where you're twisting and working on your twist. Maybe you even work with a golf trainer, and you might be practicing your swing or going to the range, just like Charlie was saying. Or you might even do stretching that looks like golf. So a lot of the things, we call this mimicry or skills training, right? So you're practicing the skill of golfing, but you're also doing some exercises that are very similar, and so we call it like a mimicry type exercise. Now, there is so much benefit to doing this. You've probably even seen improvements in your golf game by doing this. But the one big thing that almost all golfers and most people in general are missing is building up the strength and function of your body. And the reason I say it just of your body and not of your golf swing is because building up the strength of your body will lead you down a different thought process and a different, kind of like different tasks than what you would think when you're thinking about building up your golf swing. When we're thinking about building up your body, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, all those skills that you're learning with your trainer out on the golf course, when you're learning new skills and practicing your swing or different techniques, you're just going to be entering those times with a stronger, more functional, more balanced, more flexible, and more powerful body behind it all.
Exactly. Many activities that are highly skill dependent often neglect kind of building their general strength, building their general condition, building their general function, in lieu of trying to do highly specific skill related things that, like you were saying, Julie, mimic the activity that you're doing. And so that's a very common thing that we see among all people who, partake in very highly skilled specific activities. And golf is absolutely no different, where, look, if you're golfing, you like to golf. And so you often see golf as your form of exercise. So, you're walking the course, carrying your clubs, and in a lot of golfers' minds, like, that is their exercise. But just practicing the skill of golf will only get you so far with the current state that your body's in. If you are really wanting to improve your golf swing, improve your golf game, you actually need to improve the status of your body, improve your strength, improve your physical conditioning, improve the function of your body. So then you can approach your training, then you can approach your practice, then you can approach your rounds with a body that is better able to do those things, not just from a skill perspective, but from a capacity and function perspective.
And really, when you think about it, actually, when I think about it, I realize how much I don't know about that many like professional sports. But when you think about it, when you think about like an NFL team or an NBA team, they all have like their skills coaches, but then they separately have their strength coaches, right? And so when you think about golf, it is 100% a sport, right? It might not look like basketball or football, but you do need to be practicing both the skill of what you're doing, and you also need to be building the strength of your body, strength of the person that's going to be doing that skill. Meanwhile, building up the strength will also help you not only play better, but it will also help you avoid injury, be able to do everything else in your life with a lot more ease. So that is awesome too. So when you're thinking about strengthening your body and building up the strength and function of your body, instead of thinking, I want to get really strong at rotating so that I can hit the ball. I want to get really strong at my foot motion for golf so that I can hit the ball better. All of it about golf, we're actually going to be switching it to the thought process is about building your body. So when we switch that mind process, we're thinking about, hey, I want to build my hips to be awesome hips. I want to build my shoulders to be awesome shoulders. I want to build my elbows to be awesome elbows. And so we're switching it to that. We're thinking, how can I get my body as strong and resilient as possible? And then the body areas that you really need to focus on for everyone, but even golf, is total body. I don't know how many times I've seen a golf swing and really it starts at the feet and goes all the way up to your neck and your wrists. It's a full body experience. So we need to be thinking about training your upper body, your core, your lower body, your feet and ankles, the whole thing.
Well, Julie, I really like the ideas that you brought up as far as like with the NBA and the NFL. Like you have your skill coaches, your position coaches, and you have your strength coaches, okay? And if you look at the roles of each, the role of the strength coach largely is, one, injury prevention, two, keep the player consistent and consistently available to go out and perform. And then three, like along the way, especially in season, if you can get some improved performance on top of that, awesome. But the big things are really being able to prevent injury and, keep the players available, keep them consistent. And so if you look at your strength training that you do for golf in the same manner, it's not necessarily there to be like, oh, well, this is going to be absolutely the thing that improves my golf performance. It very well may. But even if you are not into that idea, if you're just like, well, the things that I really want is to be able to keep playing golf and make sure that I feel well, that's the role that your strength training should play anyways, as it is in most sports, where it's, helping to prevent injury and helping to keep the players available, consistently available, so they can go out and perform and actually allow their bodies to do the things that they've trained it to do with all of their other coaches.
That's right. I remember maybe it was 3 summers ago, one of my clients, she came to me and she was like, I love to golf and I'm really so strong, and I've taken so many golf lessons that I actually always play with the guys. She was a woman, but she's like, I always like to play with the guys because it's just way too easy playing with the other women. I was like, cool, that's awesome. But she had never consistently strength trained. So what was really cool was that she felt like she was an amazing golfer, and she was, because she had taken so many golf lessons. Went to the range. She'd play all summer long, because, by the way, here in Chicago, you can only play in the summer. And this summer, she had prepped during the winter and the spring with weight training, and she could not believe how strong her golf swing was when she got back on the range or got back on the course in the summer because she had been strength training. It was amazing. So we didn't work on any golf-specific things, but again, we were focused on total body strength training, and we were making sure that she was building the strength and function in each and every area of her body, so that each joint can be as optimally functioning as that joint, so that you can really apply that to any motion. But for her, it was groundbreaking. She was like, actually, I'm like hitting from the guys' tees now, which was really cool. So even if you are doing your skills training, you're practicing your golf, make sure you're adding in your total body strength training.
Exactly. So again, the mindset around this is not necessarily trying to do like golf-specific strength training, but more like, okay, what can we do to make sure that we're able to turn our core and that, our trunk turners are working as well as they can? What can we do to make sure that the things that would flex and extend our trunk are working and are as strong as they can be? What kind of things can we do to make sure that things that side bend our trunk are as strong and functioning as well as they can be? And so then going through area by area, like those were the 4 basic motions of the trunk, thinking about the basic motions of the shoulder, the basic motions of the hip, the basic motions of the knee, the motions of the ankle and feet. And then thinking about each of those areas and like, okay, what can we do to make sure sure that each of those areas is as strong and is functioning well as it can, and in creating your programming, your training around that, because that is going to give you a more able body overall, which is going to allow you to perform whatever skill you want, including golf, at a higher level than you otherwise would. All right. So how do we go about doing this? We've been saying strength training, but really for us, the first step in the whole process is muscle activation techniques, or MAT. And the reason why that is because we're going to say, hey, we want to make sure that you're able to turn your trunk as well as you can. We got to make sure that the muscles that turn your trunk are actually working correctly. Otherwise, what happens is we just start developing more and more compensations as our body tries to use other muscles, recruit other muscles, compensate around the inactive muscles to then perform the exercises. So MAT helps to identify where within your body you have muscles that aren't working as well as they should, and get those up to speed so that when you go and you do your strength training workouts, now you have a fully available muscle system to then go and do those exercises and strengthen.
Charlie, you're totally right. When we're thinking about strengthening our muscles, strengthening our bodies, it really all starts with muscle activation techniques, because muscle activation techniques is looking for the muscles that aren't functioning properly or communicating properly. And so that way, once we're able to address those and get the muscles functioning properly, you can go fully strengthen your body. Now, the one thing that golf has all about it that makes golfers a great candidate for MAT is the repetitiveness of motion. So there's one thing that we know stresses out muscles faster than anything else, which is really big motion, which you're trying to do in your golf swing, and number two, which is very repetitive motion. If you think about a lot of sports, they all have repetitive motions in them, but golf seems to have very repetitive. Like there's one motion that you do a whole bunch, and that's trunk rotation and the twisting of your body, right? And all the motions that accompany that twist. And so golfers tend to have a lot of muscle inhibition due to overuse and undertraining of those muscles. And so we have some muscles that are really strong and some muscles that are really weak. And so as you go to strength train, the muscles that are really strong, they're ready to go. They're already firing. They're the ones working. And so what happens is you often will start strengthening those. And what we need to do is start bringing down the gap between the weak ones and the strong ones. And so with MAT, we find that you're getting stronger without encouraging compensation. I don't know about you, but if you've ever noticed, you're like, hey, when I go exercise, I know I'm doing some stuff, but I don't always feel better or stronger or more balanced and more flexible. One thing that we see often with golfers is when they go to exercise, they know they're doing some productive things in the gym, but at the end, they have this presence of soreness or tightness or limited motion. It's not as energizing or balancing or connecting or it doesn't feel as promotional as they think it should feel for their golf game. And so that's where we see the missing piece there is the MAT. So what happens when you're strength training on muscle inhibition or on muscle imbalances is that you're going to see this gap getting larger and larger, and you're going to be encouraging more and more compensation. So we really highly recommend that you get on the MAT table to make sure that you're addressing your muscle imbalances so that when you go to strength train, then you're strength training in a more balanced way. But again, remember that's going to lead to more flexibility, more balance, more resiliency, and more strength and power in your golf game too.
Exactly. Okay, so then when you go and do your strength training, the big thing is to be following the 4 exercise for life principles, okay? Yes, we talked about making sure that you're doing your total body strength training, so you're working your legs, you're working your core, you're working your arms, all that is great, but really following those 4 exercise for life principles of staying within your symptom-free full range of motion, controlling your moving and non-moving segments, moving slowly, and focusing on the muscle squeeze, okay? A lot of times, especially when we're thinking golf, because of the natural speed of the golf swing, we think that that speed needs to be implemented into our strength training as well. And we're saying, hold on a second, actually, we want you to be really slowing that down, because remember, we're using the strength training not to try to mimic golf, but to build a stronger, more capable, better functioning body. So then you can go and do your golf training, do your everything else related to golf with a body that is better able to do that and more prepared to do that. And so a big component of that is making sure that your strength training isn't hurting you, that your strength training isn't leaving you achy, sore, or injured. And so watching and maintaining a correct speed while you're strength training is really a vital component of that.
You're right. So when we slow everything down, I know it seems counterintuitive, especially when in golf we're trying to move kind of like in a powerful, quick way. We actually are able to strengthen muscles in a further, deeper way. So definitely making sure we're focused on the speed, keeping it slow. That's definitely an exercise for life principle that we see a lot of golfers overlook. But making sure you're hitting all four when you're doing your total body strength training. That will definitely make sure that when you are strength training, it's leading you in a more positive way and less in the negative way of feeling like maybe I'm going to feel sore, achy afterwards. We find that when you apply the 4 Exercise for Life principles, you can really push it in the gym, push your strength without having those negative repercussions of a normal style workout.
Exactly. So if you are looking to take your golf game to a new level, if you're looking to improve your golf swing and you are doing the lessons, you are going to the range, you are, heading to the course as often as you can, but you feel like you're not making the progress that you would want to make sure that you are adding in strength training consistently throughout your week, 3 to 4 times a week on a consistent basis, total body, really focused on utilizing those 4 Exercise for Life principles that we talked about, in addition to regular getting your body tuned up with muscle activation techniques, can make a world of difference, not only for how your body feels and functions, but then for the status of your body that you're able to take into your golf game and that you are able to swing as often as you would like to or not when you are playing golf. So if you are in the Chicagoland area or are willing to travel to the Chicagoland area and are wanting to experience muscle activation techniques for yourself, that is our specialty here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg. All you have to do to get on our schedule and see our availability is go to www.matschaumburg.com. And on our website, there's a big green button that says Get Started. You can click that, and you can see our availability and schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. If you're watching on YouTube, you know why we're laughing. If you're not watching on YouTube, go watch us on YouTube. And also, if you're wanting to learn how to implement the 4 Exercise for Life principles into each of your workouts, that's exactly what we teach you to do within the Exercise for Life membership. Right now, you can get your first 30 days to the entire membership for free by going to www.exerciseforlifestudios.com. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is excited about the upcoming golf season, wants to make sure they're able to play as often as they can and as well as they can, but is leaving out strengthening their body right now? Share this episode with them so they can understand the importance of making sure that their body is strong and functioning well going into the coming golf season. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us and leave us a rating and review. Not only does it help people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise, it also helps them find our podcast when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.